This is episode 270 of Mitolife Radio. I'm your host, Matt Blackburn, and today I'm interviewing Mateo Johnson of Axiom H2. Mateo got his level 1 certification from the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, which is a nonprofit led by Tyler LeBaron, a guest that I've actually listened to on my friend Justin's podcast, Extreme Health Radio. And usually when I've listened to podcasts on molecular hydrogen, Tyler's name usually comes up. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I always appreciate hearing information from various different people because each person has their own approach and perspective on things. So I really enjoyed speaking with Mateo on hydrogen. He talks about what molecular hydrogen is, the difference between molecular hydrogen and Brown's gas, and why he's not a big fan of Brown's gas, or sometimes called oxyhydrogen. He talks about oxygen toxicity and the safety of using hydrogen instead. Then he goes in depth on the difference between infusing drinking water with hydrogen gas using a machine versus adding hydrogen gas to water using those dissolving tablets. And then we continue that discussion challenging the claim that a lot of companies make for their tablets. They often say they're 8 or 10, or one company I saw even says 12 parts per million. According to Mateo, you can get a meter and measure it and see for yourself that the numbers that these companies use in their marketing are often wildly inflated. And it's kind of crazy that it's legal to do that. And then I asked him his thoughts on Kangen water or alkaline water ionizers in general. And he talks about why he is not a fan of those machines. I tell him my history with drinking ozonated water in college and ask him how long can we store hydrogen in our water and what are some things that we could do to store it longer in our drinking water if we're leaving the house. He talks about the different applications with hydrogen, specifically with his machine, but you could probably do it with several machines. Hydrogen for ear health, for eye health, wearing goggles and pumping hydrogen gas into goggles. I asked him his thoughts on ozone therapy, carbon dioxide or CO2 therapy. He talks about the technologies and protocols that he uses in his clinic. He talks about his unique hydrogen tablets, how they're different from everything else on the market. The main difference is that you don't drop it in drinking water and wait for it to dissolve. And he says there's a lot of impurities, even potentially lead in that material. I'm thankful I would always let that settle at the bottom when I was drinking that 5, 6, 7 years ago. But a lot of people just drink the whole thing, and there's definitely residue at the bottom of your glass after you dissolve hydrogen tablets from any brand. So Mateo's tablets are awesome because you just take them directly, and the tablets are a lot cleaner than the ones that you dissolve in water. And I ask him about hydrogen inhalation, the difference between his 3 units that he has on his website. And then I ask him listener questions, including, are bottled hydrogen products good? Are hydrogen generating water bottles worth buying? Does the hydrogen tablet infused water have to be consumed on an empty stomach? And then his thoughts on holy hydrogen. So enjoy the show. Here is Mateo Johnson. All right, we're here with Mateo Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, this will be awesome. We're going to talk about molecular hydrogen, and this is something that I've been into, I don't know, at least 7 years, something like that, 7, 8 years. And I was getting into the tablets where you dissolve those in water and it creates a hydrogen gas concentration in the water, and you have to down it really quickly. And I started promoting that, I think 6 years ago or something. And then I saw the evolution, as we were talking about before the show, of the tablets getting better and better, where you can use like an open container uh, to release the hydrogen in. And then I started getting into hydrogen inhalation. And I started with a 2% inhaler and then moved on to a 7%. But it just seemed like really cheap. Like, you know, I think a lot of it's from Asia, right? But it just seemed kind of poorly built. And I
Mm-hmm.
would do that when I'm working at my office desk. And then recently, our mutual friend, Matt Kaufman, another Matt, introduced me to you and your company, Axiom H2. And I decided to get one of your machines. And it looks high quality, it feels high quality. I've been inhaling hydrogen while I'm here at my desk responding to emails and stuff. And it's been awesome. There's so many um, things that biohackers use at their desk. I think there's like the easy structured water inhaler is really popular, but that's pricey. We're talking upwards of 10K, and
Mm-hmm.
I've used it multiple times, and I don't really feel as much as I do from hydrogen inhalation or even carbon dioxide inhalation. I've been playing around with that as well. So I just
Yeah.
threw a lot at you, but I just wanted to give my introduction to the because I don't even think we talked much about my my history with hydrogen. So
Yeah, I'm happy to hear it all. And just the fact that you know about hydrogen, one, means you're ahead of the curve. Two, you've been using it. Three, you're already familiar with other type of breathing therapies. And as we know, inhalation is like a IV, right? Without the IV. So it's so much more natural and gentle in the body, an easy way of introducing a gas or a therapy right through the lungs, directly in the bloodstream.
and more comfortable than rectal because that's equivalent to IV too, but that's a little more involved.
Well, depends who you're asking. No, just kidding. But yeah, very familiar with ozone, rectal insufflation, and we've had some friends use hydrogen up the rear, and I just unless you have I would say there's an issue right in the colon, I don't see a need to put the hydrogen in there. Um, and for digestion though, ozone, rectal ozone insufflations, I think could be definitely have its time and place. But yeah, the inhalation, like you said, while you're at the office, like me, this is kind of my desk here. And I always just hook this up when I'm doing my podcast, when I'm doing my emails. And then typically at night, I'll take it next to the bedside and we'll plug it next to the bed and just put it in, watch, some TV before bed too. Start with the infused water every morning. This device, the one you have, the one I have sitting right here next to me, we can inhale it, we can infuse water. And so I've made a daily morning routine. First thing when I wake up, turn on the machine, drop the infusion rod in a big thing of water, get that infused, start doing my things. I take my hydrogen supplement with the hydrogen rich water, then I'll infuse another big jug of hydrogen water that I use in my steam sauna. So I pour the hydrogen rich water in the steam sauna, some eucalyptus or a type of organic essential oil that steams out. And then so man, it's a nice little morning routine.
Wow. Yeah, I have so many questions, but uh,
Yeah.
I want to start with how did you get into it and when study of
Okay,
hydrogen?
sure. So it was about 10 years ago now, and I was living in Hawaii. Um, I was competitive boxing and, playing tennis, an avid tennis player, almost 5 days a week. I was free diving, I was scuba diving, and doing some local gym boxing competitions at the UFC gyms and the other boxing gyms in Honolulu. And then I was really interested in studying and using ozone therapy, ozonated water, even breathing ozone, long as it was diffused through olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Then you can inhale the ozonites. Um, and then so those medical gases, also like hyperbaric oxygen. So I was really into those, which led me into Brown's gas, also known as oxyhydrogen. And then I, started going into weird kind of hidden forums and Telegram and different engineers and scientists, and I'm like, this is amazing. How isn't like everybody talking about this? So I dove deeper and deeper and deeper as an athlete, and then I realized like this is so much more than athletic performance. And I realized my cardio was going up, my stamina was going up, and it was very subtle but noticeable, right? It's healing you on a cellular level, so it's not like something you feel. It's not a stimulant like caffeine, for example. It's not a depressant, it's not a vitamin, it's not a mineral, it's a molecule. And so it was hard to grasp like what was going on in my body at first, but something just intuitively said, this is good, this feels good, I want more of it. And I'm a very intuitive person, so I listened to my intuition and said, okay, let's keep doing this. I stopped for about 2 months because the device I had 6, 7 years ago broke. And then when I stopped is when I actually, that was my first big, big notice to say, wow, this is how my body feels a few months without it. I can actually feel it change. So that was really the initial big kicker. When we got it back, I'm like, okay, let's use this more and really dial in on it. And so from an athlete, I really got educated at Molecular Hydrogen Institute. I got my level 1 accredited certification, and then through there, I just started deep diving into all the research coming out of Korea, China, Japan, and Dr. Circus, Dr. Tyler LeBaron, and and then so that's really where it all started. And that was, started 10 years ago with tablets, a little water bottle, a smaller machine, oxyhydrogen, then another oxyhydrogen machine. I started building machines for companies, doing all the custom. See a really good overview of what was missing in the market, what the manufacturers needed to add, sensors, customer service type things, warranty. And I just, on my third machine, buying another machine, I'm like, I don't see another one out there that I would honestly spend the money on. I was emailing companies, try to get someone on the phone. They'd give me the runaround. They would dodge me about testing questions. I'm like, this is so weird. This is an unregulated market. And I got some encouragement to say, hey, get yourself a medical manufacturer, a team of engineers, do it the way you want to do it. So as you want to add all the testing. And we did that and came out with Axiom H2. And now, so we're endorsed by doctors, we're international, um, we're finalizing our patents in the next 60 days. We have more sensors than any other device on the market. There's a diagnostics feature. And so just everything I could ever think of I wanted in a device, we put in the Axiom H2.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, uh, what is hydrogen? Because you mentioned it's a
Yeah.
molecule. It's an antioxidant, but a selective antioxidant, right?
Yes. So another really good point. Hydrogen is a molecule. There's different forms of hydrogen. H1, uh, that's the first element on the periodic table. Is H1 is hydrogen. We're using the form H2, also known as dihydrogen. That's two hydrogen atoms combined together to create H2. So that's the form we use. And as I stated, not a vitamin, not a mineral, it's a molecule. And so just working on a deeper and deeper level of what's going on in the body. And if you look at like vitamin C, it's like really big, and then molecular hydrogen is like a little speck next to vitamin C. So given its molecular size, has higher bioavailability, meaning it can go into our cell walls, past the blood-brain barrier, go into every nook and cranny in the body. And yes, it is a selective antioxidant, but hydrogen itself, molecular hydrogen itself, acts like an antioxidant. Itself is not one, but it acts just like one, selectively neutralizing certain oxidants while leaving other oxidants for signaling molecules. So it's just very, very intelligent how it reacts in different individuals' bodies.
Yeah, it's a fascinating therapy, and I think it's cool that you explore the other gases. Like we talked a bit about O3, ozone, and you said you got into hyperbaric oxygen. And it's funny you brought up Brown's gas. I forgot I tried one of those machines that's like a blend of oxygen and hydrogen. And I think I was listening to a show you did with Tyler LeBaron, and you guys were kind of debunking that therapy, that you don't really want the oxygen with the hydrogen, right? You just want the straight oxygen. Do I understand that right?
Yeah, It's been a back and forth, and a lot of companies are pushing oxyhydrogen Brown's gas. So Brown's gas is where I had started when I first got into the world of hydrogen inhalation, which is a mixture of 66.6 hydrogen, 33.3% oxygen. And I didn't know any better. So I'm like, yeah, that's the best. There are some theoretical studies out there showing like electrically expanded water, what it does to water, things like that. Um, but as I dove deeper into the education behind hydrogen, and I launched Axiom, I realized, no, I don't want to do an oxyhydrogen machine. There's some research coming out of Japan that's saying that healthy individuals with proper blood oxygen saturation of 95 and above could actually harm themselves by breathing too much oxygen.
Hmm.
Like there is such a thing as oxygen toxicity. Absolutely. And there's no such thing as molecular hydrogen toxicity. It has zero cytotoxicity. You can never overdose on it. You absolutely can with oxygen. And so it became a thing where I'm like, why are we having the oxygen there again? And, healthy people breathing strong oxygen, pure oxygen, even mixed with hydrogen for long periods of time is greater risk to reward. So when I made Axiom, I said, I want pure medical grade hydrogen. That's it. We're getting oxygen through our atmosphere. And as you saw in the interview with Dr. Tyler LeBaron, the founder of Molecular Hydrogen Institute, we both agreed. We were like, no, we don't see what's up with oxyhydrogen or Brown's gas. We don't see why. We've even seen people with low blood oxygen saturation optimize their oxygen levels just with hydrogen, not even needing oxygen. And the way I see oxygen therapy is almost like my example is like TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. When you're giving your body testosterone, your body shuts off making testosterone. Okay, when you stop doing TRT, your body's not better. It's like, whoa, can't make testosterone anymore. Same thing with oxygen. If you have low blood oxygen saturation, you give yourself oxygen. Sure, the oxygen levels will raise, but when you stop, they drop back down. It doesn't get to the root problem. Hydrogen will, and so that's kind of why our devices do make pure molecular hydrogen. We stop the Brown's gas movement. A lot of them are welding torches, and most true Brown's gas, you need a chemical solution made using lye, also known as sodium hydroxide. Very, very rough, powerful chemical, and a lot of companies won't even ship it like in the mail because it's so rough. So, working with a lot of hundreds and if not thousands of different clients with the other companies I work for, they're asking me, so I need to open the windows and wear these goggles and this mask and I'm put this in the machine and then I breathe this. I'm like, yeah, but make sure you keep changing your filters because if you forget to change your filters, then that lye can keep getting through. And so, this machine is just clean water, distilled, no filters, no chemicals, all natural, 100% clean. So we're using a new form of technology where you don't need to add that chemical to add extra ions to the water.
Yeah, I like the safety. That's funny. I forgot about the sodium hydroxide. That's what I pour in my kitchen sink to clear the drains. And yeah, when
Yeah.
I was when I was making that solution for the oxyhydrogen machine, yeah, it was so caustic, and it if you inhale it, it's so uncomfortable. So, you have to. I got a mason jar and mixed it outside, and the glass would heat
Yep.
up, and it's kind of a scary process.
Yeah. I mean, I'm having these regular people become like a chemist and they're like, put on your big goggles, your gloves, go outside, mix it in the glass. Don't stir too fast. It'll heat up. The glass can break and explode. Like it was a whole thing. And I'm like, I cannot keep doing this, putting my reputation behind this. And there's risk. And then if someone, like I said, is not changing their filters, I think I cleaned my filter last week, but not sure. Well, if you don't, you're getting some of that harmful chemical leached into the breathing gas. And so the risk to reward was not worth it. And I didn't really see any gas analysis reports from those oxyhydrogen machines using lye. And most of them were also using their cathode and anode were made of stainless steel. Lasts forever, but definitely releases oxides, 100%. That's why in our machine we use pure titanium and platinum. So we have
Mm.
8,000 hours runtime, not releasing any other harmful oxides.
Wow, 8,000 hours. That's a long
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
And
So
and your machine, I like that it only uses requires distilled water, which I wanted to ask you about that because I've been dabbling in home colloidal silver making for a long
yeah,
time, and I was
me
doing it in the
too.
dark, and yeah, crazy fun experiments, and it seemed pretty effective. I mean, I think it's a great home remedy, or
Hmm.
even topically, I've had some phenomenal experiences with colloidal silver. But the
Yeah.
colloidal silver that you put in your machine, do you usually recommend that people buy it from the store? Because the company that I've been using for years, Sota, with their silver pulsar, where you can make colloidal silver with it, he usually recommends store bought their company because I guess even with the home distiller, depending on the source water, you could still have minute impurities in the product water, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So far as the distilled water goes, and we're international brands, so we have people across the world. So I can't, there's not one company distilled water I can recommend across the board. Most of the ones in the States that you can find at a drugstore are perfectly distilled. The at-home distillers, I do see more fluctuations, and it could be if they've descaled their machine recently or not. And I had people say, no, 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 I'm good. I have my Berkey and this and that. I said, just curious, have you ever tested it? No. I said, well, you should probably buy a TDS meter and validate that it is making distilled water. And so, send her the link off Amazon, $25 TDS meter. She gets it. Turns out it was dirtier than her tap water. And she's like, oh my gosh, she was mortified. And so I'm like, yeah, so just buy it from the store. Most store-bought brands are good distilled. And if you are making it at home, you should have a TDS meter to validate that it is distilled water. But regardless, with the Axiom H2 machine, we have a very sensitive meter inside the device. So if you do put in what you think is distilled water, or spring water or a different type of water that doesn't meet the standards, the machine, a sensor will go off and it just won't run. So it'll never harm your device, even if you put in dirty water per se. The machine will say, no, this isn't clean enough. You need to drain it out. So you'll never harm the machine. You'll never harm yourself. And so that's a good feature. And I have been recommending an at-home water filter called Zero. It's called Zero Water. You can buy it off Amazon. That's about $40. That Zero Water filter removes all the total dissolved solids, and that's why they call it Zero, because it makes zero TDS. And so that one's been really solid and a safe bet that I'll recommend to my clients.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I actually sell a really souped up under counter 7 stage water filter that's kind of beyond RO. It uses RO, but a very specific order of operations of filtration
Oh,
media.
nice.
And I was thinking something like that or RO, and then put that in the mega home distiller or whatever distiller
Yeah.
you're using, right?
Yeah, like a
Mhm.
pre-filtered. Yeah, then we're talking really, really high quality distilled water there. And yeah, the higher quality distilled you can get, or if you can structure your water, have it distilled and then structure it. I mean, the higher quality water goes in the machine, the higher quality gas we're getting.
Awesome. And
And
the impure water, would that harm the titanium and platinum plates? Is that, I mean, if you didn't have the sensor in there?
it it could possibly oxidize it faster, or some other things could leach out from the water. So yeah, I believe the threshold on the sensor is like zero point 0.2. So if it's anything above zero point 0.2, then the sensor goes off.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
so
Well, I wanted to go back to your morning routine you were talking about earlier. So you said first thing in the morning you start it with drinking hydrogen water, and you said you use the diffuser from the unit. Is that better or different than using the hydrogen tablets in water?
yeah, what we found is there's a few different reasons why the infusion method from gas injected into water is one of the best ones. It's because it very, very, very slightly alters the pH of the water, which is not our goal, right? The goal is not to alter the pH of the water. The goal is to add available stable hydrogen to the water. The tablets is right magnesium based chemical reaction with H2O that releases hydrogen to the water. It does make your water pretty acidic, which isn't the end of the world because we have an acidic stomach. So it does alter the pH into an acidic environment. That's fine. But what we're finding through different lab tests and third-party lab tests is a lot of the magnesium-based water-dissolved tablets contain some other heavy metals like lead and some other things in there. So now these third-party tests with those water-dissolved tablets are becoming super prominent. So that's one thing about the tablets. Two is that as soon as the tablets are dissolved, it is not stable. Like you need to chug it immediately. Here's the beautiful part about what the process from the Axiom H2 is. Taking the gas, injecting it with the smallest micron sized diffusion rod, and then very quickly, within 5 minutes, it can infuse a liter of water. And then the best part is that you're getting around 1.6 parts per million of available hydrogen in the water, and it's stable, meaning that on the shelf, we've actually tested it in the refrigerator with a cap. It held about 90% of the hydrogen for 14 days. And so it just in a regular bottle, like a container that's included with the machine, that looks like it's about 8 hours. So while you take that to the gym, on your hike, throughout your day, you can actually be drinking hydrogen-rich water throughout the day. So that's a really phenomenal part of that style of infusion because it's creating stable hydrogen. And then we've even found through extensive testing that after, let's say, 12 hours, let's say you had a really long day, you're driving around, and the excitability of the water is what controls how much the hydrogen stays or is released. So if you have your water bottle and you're shaking it, shaking it, shaking it, it's going to start to release faster. But if it's pretty still, it holds very, very well. But what we found is that even after all the hydrogen has left the water, the ORP level, oxidation reduction potential, never goes back to positive, even though the water started in a positive oxidation of, let's say, 120 points positive oxidation. When you infuse it with hydrogen, it goes down to negative 750 ORP, really strong antioxidative properties in the water. But even after the hydrogen leaves, it never returns back to positive. So even though the hydrogen left, it's still higher quality drinking water than when it started.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you said 1.6 parts per million of available hydrogen with the infusion, and if I remember correctly, with the tablets, it's around 8 parts per million. So is it not like more the better? Like, is that 1.6 because it's so stable enough, or am I correct with, because I thought those tablets are generally like 8, 9, 10 ppm.
Yeah. So here's what I've learned is that in general, the consensus is the higher amount of hydrogen, the faster the results, right? The higher the flow rate, the faster the results. The higher the water saturation, the faster the results. In general, that's what the consensus shows. But we've seen people, let's say 220-pound man, he'll react very, very well off a small amount of hydrogen. We've also seen someone that weighs less happen to have those reactions with a higher amount of hydrogen. So everyone does react parts per million. Now, the third-party studies had said the same thing, that the parts per million of the magnesium tablets was closer to 1.2, 1.3. So, any companies claiming the 8 parts per million, with all the testing I've done, which is H2 blue drop which is a chemical reaction type testing, and then a digital meter, those have both said 1.2, 1.3. And so I would definitely want to ask, hey, where can we validate and from what company, what laboratory, a third party test that validated that 8 ppm? So I'm not saying the companies are lying, but I do all my own testing with every type of testing tool I can acquire. And I just did use H2 Analytics for my own tablets. And H2 Analytics gave me the same report that my own at-home testing equipment did. So now everything that I validated at my house was validated the third party, And so I'm not sure. It's wild to me that so many magnesium dissolved tablets claim 8 parts per million, and they would all be lying. So not saying they're lying, but I would like to see a third party test that's validated.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things. Their suppliers all telling them that, but no one's
Yes,
verified it or something.
yes, that's kind of what I thought. Is like one person had said, "Hey, this produces that," and they said, "Yep," and then the next person said, "Hey, they're saying there's tablets with these ingredients of these quantity produces this much hydrogen. We can make the same claim." And then there they went down the line, and now everyone that has magnesium dissolved tablets are saying 8, 9, 10 ppm. I don't know. I need to see a third party.
Uh, let's see. Yeah, you cut out for a little bit before when you were talking about the 220-pound man, but I think I got the gist of it.
Okay.
So more is like that 1.6 seems to work for a lot of people, 1.2 to 1.6 ppm. Um, I
Yeah,
I wonder. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. Last thing I'll add is the minimum therapeutic dose that's been recorded is zero point 0.5 parts per million per liter of water. So that's a really important part. Zero point 0.5 ppm per liter is the minimum therapeutic amount. So, right, we can start to do the math to say, okay, well, if you have 1.6 and then it's less than a liter, now we're hitting the minimum therapy because a liter is a lot of water to drink in one sitting. So you definitely, need to be getting above 1.5, above 2.5. You're going to need anywhere from 2.5 to 3 ppm parts per million in like a 10-ounce glass of water, you know? So that's at least the less talked about points when everyone's promoting, marketing hydrogen rich water. Well, how much parts per million? What's the pH and what's the amount of water? All those factors are really important.
Got it. Well, I
Yeah.
got to bring up the elephant in the room, like the
Yeah.
multi-level marketing alkaline water ionizer, because I've been in the health industry for 14 years, and
Mm.
I've seen a lot of multi-level marketing companies, and this one's seems to be one of the most persistent or the ones that I hear the most about.
Yeah.
And uh, what are your thoughts? Overpriced? I mean, because people seem to be getting benefits from it. And I listen to the people that own their own business, quote unquote, talking about it. And they,
Yeah.
they, they say all the claims that it's, alkalized water and you're getting free electrons. And I mean, in my head, I'm just like, isn't it just hydrogen therapy, but you're just paying an astronomical amount for it?
Yeah. So this does need to be brought up. And I've been trying to so cautiously and gracefully maneuver my way through here without, harming anyone's what they built their career upon. And because I feel a lot of them did not do anything maliciously, it was lack of knowledge. I feel like the companies that they started and, are MLM companies, they educated one side of the story. So my advice and encouragement is anyone in an MLM company selling ionized water products, I encourage you guys to get an education through Molecular Hydrogen Institute, which goes all into alkaline, alkalinized, ionized, ORP levels, pH, everything about water from an accredited, science-backed, unbiased institution. So if you're educating people on what the company taught you to educate them, do you really believe that's the full story? Right? Because I am here at this point to say, guys, enough is enough. Yes, our blood does reside in a slightly alkaline environment. It's around 7.3. It's a very, very, very narrow window, 7.2 to 7.3. That's where our blood does reside as far as the pH. That which is anything above 7 is alkaline. But just because it's slightly in the alkaline environment does not mean the more alkalinity, the better. Because if you're in an over alkaline environment, you can have mold and fungus grow. Okay. No one talks about that. They only say, oh, cancer can grow in an acidic environment. Cancer can't grow in an alkaline environment. Right. But it's about a balance. Right. And so Drinking acidic water or alkaline water does not transfer or translate into the alkalinity of our blood at all. So guys, you're talking about, well, I have cancer and that means my body's in an alkal or an acidic environment. Let me drink alkaline water. It doesn't work like that. You're actually going to screw yourself up worse because we need an acidic environment in our stomach. And then you know what their feedback is, or their response is no. Only when you eat food does the acids really get produced. And I'm here to put everyone in their place, guys. Call me out. There's science backing it. Molecular Hydrogen Institute. Guys, your stomach with no food for 8 hours has around 100 to sometimes 300 milliliters of liquid. That liquid is anywhere from 1.5 all the way up to 3 on the pH scale. Okay. Hydrochloric acid is 2.5. That's where our stomach resides in an extremely highly acidic environment. So if you guys are drinking alkaline water for extended periods of time, you are screwing your digestion, your acid environment, which we know how important the microbiome in the pH balance of our stomach is for creating our hormones in the brain to gut connection, all those things, and digestion. So, guys, everyone got the hype behind alkaline water because when you ionize water and you make it to an alkaline pH, the byproduct of doing that is adding some hydrogen to the water. So all those benefits that you're getting from drinking ionized alkaline water is nothing from the alkalinity. It's it's from the small amounts of slightly available hydrogen in the water. So it's just where, anyone these days that are selling an ionizer or buying those or using them is just using completely outdated technology. And there's no point for it. There's no reason. You get some benefits of hydrogen, but those little benefits are going to be partially negated by you screwing up your acid environment in the stomach. And I actually just did a quick little unscheduled Instagram live because I'm like, you know what? It's time, guys. It's time to let the cat out the bag. I'm sorry for anyone and any of my friends that work for water ionizers. And I'm sorry, but it's time. You guys need to start embracing the truth. It's okay that you built your whole career around water ionizers, but now it's time to stop. You guys need to come around with the truth, stop hiding from it, and just get on board with the new technology and the new data. Because when they replicated the studies from 40 years ago with alkaline water, there was like, wow, alkaline water's healing 170 human diseases. It was the hydrogen that did it, nothing to do with alkalinity. They redid the exact same test, removed the hydrogen from alkaline water, zero benefits. Zero. There we
Wow.
go.
Yeah, I read back in my vegan days, I got a book. I think it was called Reverse Aging by Sang Wang, I believe, and he was going through all these different therapies. And I think there was a whole chapter on alkaline water, and I think it talked about hydrogen a little bit, but it didn't emphasize the hydrogen. It was mostly the alkalinity, from what I
Yeah.
recall. So yeah, great points that you make. And do you think that machine, the way it makes hydrogen, like you said, the word outdated, are the plates low quality, or any thoughts on like the way it's generating hydrogen? Is it just an overpriced way to do it, or?
It's an inefficient way to create hydrogen. They're getting hydrogen as a byproduct, right? Why, like, hey, I want hydrogen, so let me get it as like the leftover scraps. Like, I don't want the leftovers. Give me the full real deal. That's why hydrogen gas, like the Axiom machine, creates pure. The whole point in the concept and the technology behind this device is to create pure, clean hydrogen gas. What we do with that gas is with the different accessories. So yeah, I know that on some of them they use like platinum and good quality cathode and anode to create hydrogen, but they're still getting it as a byproduct. And so that hydrogen that they get as a byproduct is very, very unstable and will leave the water very, very quickly. That's why it's almost a consensus, well known in the whole market. Oh, as soon as you make your hydrogen water, you got to drink it right away. Anyone that knows about hydrogen pretty much knows that. That's because they're not getting it in a good way. It's not stable.
Got it. Well, yeah, that's great explanation. And isn't it funny how when people have like this monetary like attachment to their message and what they're sharing. Like they get defensive when you question it.
Yeah.
And I've people know it. I've changed my mind so many times and even stopping selling certain products several times that I no longer endorse or believe in. And I think it's a beautiful opportunity to say, hey, I was wrong. Here's something that's better.
Yep.
And there's always going to be monetary opportunities. I always tell people like affiliate marketing is way better than MLM, in my opinion. That's what I do for Mitolife, and
Hmm. Yeah,
everyone
me too.
benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a win-win. And we don't advertise our affiliate program. It's only if you have our products, you were changed, you were moved, you love the branding, you love the mission, they'll reach out. No one's ever seen me do a post. Hey guys, we're looking for affiliates. We're looking. No, it's 100% organic. If you've been moved, you like the products, you see how powerful and impactful the technology is and the mission is. Sure, we created a program for you guys, but the MLM gives people a wrong taste in their mouth because people have been, um, you know, been I don't want to say scam, but they've been turned off by the MLM structure and that type of incentivizing and telling people one part of the story. It just is not honorable. And so what I did like what you said is, hey, you were humble enough and had the morals to say, you know what? I don't no longer stand behind this anymore or this product or this belief. And I was a vegan too before. I went down the vegan route, did the whole thing. Now I'm eating like meat and guts and like, all types of things that the vegan community would never do. So I've changed my mind and my routes and my products as well. And we're always evolving. So you got to have an open mind to say, hey, this person made an interesting point. Maybe it's something to look into. Instead of getting defensive and angry and you don't know what you're talking about, da, 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 da. Okay, let me humble myself and maybe I do need to take another look into this. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. A good sign that you're correct is if the other side starts making personal attacks. It's something I've seen time and time again. That
Yeah.
usually means I would say 99% of the time that you're right and they're wrong if they
Yeah.
resort to
Yeah.
that. um,
Yep.
you did mention storing hydrogen for several hours. And uh, back when I was attending college, I was really big into ozone. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, at the time, I was just pulling ambient air into the machine. It was one of the
Hmm.
better ones though. It wasn't an Amazon machine. It was like
Hmm.
$450 or something, and it was higher quality ozone generation. But I would pretty much ozonate like a beer growler because there's Carl Strauss's down in San Diego where I'm from, and then I would
Hmm.
put that growler in the fridge to get the water super cold, ozonate it, bring it to school, and I would leave to work and go to school like in the morning and come back late, like later that evening, and the ozone would pretty much last in that cold water all day long, which
Hmm.
was fascinating to me. Just having the water cold, even just from the
Yeah.
start, it would hold it all day long. I mean, I could still smell it at the end of the day. The campus police actually thought I was drinking booze, so they pulled me over once, and I had to explain it was filtered water that was ozonated. But uh, all that to say, you were talking about storing hydrogen and bringing it with you on hikes or whatever. Is the main thing, if I understood you correctly, not shaking it up a bunch? Like, does the more still it is, the longer it'll last, or is there also a cold component? And
Yeah. So Um, we found very, very slight, I mean, I'm talking almost not even worth it, changes with hot water and cold water. So I've infused hot water, I've infused cold water. Yes, cold, contracts, heat expands. So in general, the colder the water would hold it a little bit better, but, it never was enough that I said, oh yeah, like I'm recommending everyone to do it with ice or something like that. Um, but what was the greatest factor was the excitability of the water molecules. And so, like, for example, I did a test, plastic water bottle, no lid, outside in the heat, 24 hours, it had full hydrogen levels. It wasn't touched. So 24 hours outside, no lid, right? Full hydrogen levels. because it wasn't stirred or shooken or anything like that. Um, in the shelf on the fridge with a cap, we tested it for 14 days. It was 24 hours and we were blown away. Then we did 48. We're like, no way. Let's try 72. We're like, okay, this is not going down. Let's jump to a week. A week it did it. I'm like, okay, let's do 2 weeks. And then so we haven't even done it past 2 weeks because we're just like, this is wild. Um, but in a regular day, like in your container, as you drink it and you're going through your day and it just naturally sloshes around in your car while you're walking, I mean, it holds it for about 8 hours. It's
Wow.
slowly declining, but it still holds it. And also, I will admit that the idea for hydrogen therapy is to get in a lot at once to hit the saturation levels in your blood, right? And if you're just kind of sipping a little hydrogen throughout the day, I don't think you're going to hit those therapeutic saturation levels. But is hydrogen rich water better than regular water? Absolutely, all day. And like I said, even if the hydrogen has left the water and you have half a jug of hydrogen that's already left, you still have a balanced warp level. So it's not oxidizing water anymore. So you still have beneficial properties to the water, even if the hydrogen's left.
Awesome. Well, I just had a episode with a, integrative, like holistic dentist, and
Mm,
uh, I was talking a lot about because I'm a cigar fan enjoyer,
uh-huh.
and smoke on the teeth. I usually use some xylitol gum or swish with water during the cigar session, but also even just citrus juice. I mean, pineapple juice, wine, coffee, carbonated beverages, carbonated water, all these things. I like to just do kind of a reset my mouth if
hmm
I ingest any of that. And I'm curious if in your research you've seen any benefits of hydrogen for teeth or gums or with ORP. I'd imagine that would have some benefit to swish it around in the mouth, especially after the things I mentioned.
Yeah, the studies that I haven't seen too many. There are a few, and we actually have a really prominent doctor down here, or he's a dentist down here in Costa Rica, and he thinks like hydrogen is going to be the next biggest thing for dentistry. And and I like you was using ozone years before hydrogen. Still love ozone, like it still has its place in my clinics and protocols. But hydrogen is from my dentist, Dr. Ronald. He says that it works great as a micro cleanser and as an anti-inflammatory in the gums and post-surgery and things like that. It does work as a cleansing agent. It does work at reducing the inflammation and keeping a clean environment. So a little less harsh than ozone, but still effective.
Awesome. So maybe
Yeah.
alternating them get the best of both worlds or something.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I think too.
That's awesome. Uh, I want to go back to the beginning where you were talking about your daily routine and when you're uh, watching a movie or whatever, how you inhale hydrogen. I know Dr. Circus has talked about, I think how he inhaled, I believe it was hydrogen while he slept. Curious your
Mhm.
thoughts on that. If you've done it, if you think it's worth it or not necessary to do it all night.
Sure, great point. So I do recommend for some of our clients in a very chronic disease condition, stage 4 cancer. We've had many clients there. We'll say, look, you want to be breathing this as much as you can. And so if you're in a chronic disease state, you can literally safely breathe this machine 24 hours a day. Not only that, the machine has the ability to run 24 hours a day, which is a telltale sign of quality of materials. A lot of them can run for 2 to 3 hours and then they'll overheat and you got to have take a 30-minute hour break. This device, you can actually run it for 24 hours. I have slept with it. I found that I don't really need to. I'm in a pretty healthy state. And I found when I do sleep with it, I need like a lot less sleep. I'll take like 5 hours and I could wake up like super refreshed, like $1 million. I was doing that for a little bit, and normally I'm an 8 hour sleep type of guy. But when if I do hydrogen, it's like, I mean, really, you could get a little bit of sleep and you feel really, really rested. Um, so to recommend it sleeping, obviously you can't hurt yourself. You're never overdose on it. but I would really recommend it for a really chronic condition, or if you're just trying to hit hard a really deep cleanse or a detox in a short amount of time. Mateo, hey, I only got like 20 days. I need to get in the best, healthy as I can. Well, breathe the hydrogen nonstop 24 hours a day, you know,
That,
so
that
you can't sleep with it.
that's awesome. Yeah, a little testimony. I've only been using your machine for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks now, but if I'm on
Hmm.
the computer talking to my Mitolife team, responding to emails, just working, then I just use the inhaler for 30 minutes to an hour. That's kind of what I've been averaging daily. And I do feel definitely mental clarity if I don't feel like I got a full night's sleep or quality sleep. I definitely feel that what you were talking about, just like feel kind of like I took a power nap without taking a power nap. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty cool machine. And I haven't even explored, like before we hit record, this bag here, and you can pump it in the eyes and uh, into the ears. And I mean, there's just endless therapies you can you can do with it, right? And you talked about diffusing water, but you could also pump
Hmm.
it in the ears and the eyes, which I'm familiar with, like with my ozone machine. My buddy Charles at Crucial Four, I like to do that after a shower, just 5 or 10 minutes, pump ozone through the ears. Uh,
Nice.
but I've never thought about hydrogen. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's again, ozone's wonderful, and ozone works in a different form of therapy by oxidizing, right, germs and viruses, and where hydrogen really acts like a totally antioxidant. Very gentle. You cannot overdo it. So, for people, the studies show that they have hearing loss to damaged eardrums. The hydrogen in the ears is helping. Also with tinnitus, things like that.
Wow.
And then for neurological disorders and dysfunction, like I would recommend the inhalation as well as the earphones because that's a direct route to the brain through the ears. So uh, we have people using that. And actually, my stepdad, he used the ear goggles and he kind of had hard of hearing. He's 77 years old. He doesn't have hearing aids, but he's just kind of like, what? Sometimes he'll just sit out the conversation. And I feel bad. We're all sitting there, family's talking, and he's kind of, not fully there just because he can't hear everything. We put him on the thing for 15 minutes. And then after that, he's like, whoa, wait, wait, wait. He kind of stopped everyone. He's like, I can hear what everyone's saying. And so it just immediately in a 15-minute session reduced all that inflammation that I believe he has from allergies. And so it cleared his earways and he could hear. Now that was through one 15-minute session. And he did say the next day, that inflammation kind of returned. So, but he doesn't have a machine yet because I've been encouraging him. I said, if you move down to Costa Rica with me, I'll give you a machine. So, and they are moving down. Um,
That's
but same
cool.
thing with
That's
the eye goggles too. We have clinics that use it, and they have reported testimonials of ridding the eyes of eye twitch. Their clients had like a twitching eye really bad for 3 months. They tried eye drops and all the different things. One session, 30 minutes, cleared the eye twitch, never came back.
wow. I just interviewed as a returning guest, awesome legend Adam Bergstrom on the show the other
Hmm.
day, and he's big into traumas, and he was
Hmm.
saying right eye twitch is a female trauma, and the left eye twitch is a male trauma, usually from
Mm.
someone you dated or
Wow.
romantic, which is interesting. So maybe it's healing
Very
traumas
interesting.
too, right? With the hydrogen.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just continuously impressed me over the past 10 years. So,
Those are really cool stories. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, I was looking on your website on the research tab, and I think you said there's over 2,000 published studies on hydrogen, and you list quite a few in a PDF. And some of them are pretty
mhm.
impressive. Like you mentioned, stage 4 cancer, molecular hydrogen can suppress tumor growth, and even someone's doing chemo could help with that, right? By reducing the side effects.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do work as cancer rehabilitation centers as a standalone therapy. I've seen through feedback from the team of doctors we work with that has our technology. and through clients saying, wow, we've had great success results dissolving the tumors and getting better. I don't want to make any claims here about that, but we'll say the feedback has been very, very positive. And the best part is that you can use it as an adjunctive therapy during chemo to help with that, uh, radiation poisoning that they're doing to the body. And so that really, really negates that, the excessive harm that it can cause. So it's great to use before, during, or after chemotherapy, or even, selective, targeted radiation therapy. Um, so we have doctors using it. We have doctors getting success. We have emails that came in from people saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm in my breast cancer recovery, and this has been like the key." And so it's awesome. It's very, very rewarding to hear these things.
That is super cool. I
Yeah.
mentioned CO2, carbon dioxide, and
Yeah.
I learned quite a bit about that from Ray Pete, and recently found a company where you could pretty much infuse a dry suit with it and do like a CO2 air bath, which for
Mm.
me, having hyperbaric and doing hundreds of sessions at home, I was really blown away at the affordability, just how mobile it is. I mean, it's just a tank and a suit, and just the
Hmm.
effects were incredible. Because CO2, is demonized, of course,
Yeah.
but it's really necessary for us to use oxygen, right? And there's just so many. I mean,
Yeah.
all the studies on CO2 are reducing cellulite and helping with cancer. Like, I mean, tons of stuff. So I talking about inhalation, I'm wondering if I don't see how it would counter, but if I was inhaling while I was doing a CO2 bath, I don't think those would counter each
Like,
other, right?
could blow up. No.
That's the
So,
worst. That's the worst that could happen.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it would be fine. I don't see why it would negate each other. That would be something completely new. Um, but I was actually really impressed to hear you say that you were working with CO2, because almost 99% of the world is, like you said, is totally demonized. And so unless you're like very out there and very forward thinking and then way ahead of the curve and you've done your research, you'll know that there's actually a lot of health benefits from that. So I was like, man, bravo, because you dove deeper than the average person to figure that out. Because anyone that says, "Oh, I do CO2," they say, "Oh, that can kill you." That's crazy.
Yeah, and the late Ray Pete wrote great articles on it, and he has great lectures on YouTube. If you just search Ray Pete carbon dioxide, with Bud Weiss, there's a crazy, I mean, just 2 hours of just really in-depth CO2 knowledge.
Wow.
It's really fun. That's actually what I listened to during the CO2 bath to
Oh,
kind of
cool.
understand it more. But yeah, it's incredible the therapies that we have available to us. I mean, just between really high quality ozone machine that you're using an oxygen tank, right? And then
Yeah.
CO2 therapy,
Yeah.
hydrogen. I mean, with those three, you could do quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I think we can check all of our boxes when it comes to repairing the body, mold, chronic disease, anti-aging effects. Like it's really, again, inhalation is going directly to the blood. So, and these gases are proven to be extremely effective. Between the ozone and hydrogen, them two alone, using ozone one day and finishing with hydrogen, and then next, and you're doing this on and off, on and off. I mean, talk about killing the bad stuff and then gently flushing it out, and then a boom, boom, boom. It's a super powerful combination that we use in our clinics down here. On the CO2, that's actually something that I only scratch a surface level of saying, wow, this is good for us, but I never dove deep. So I'm definitely going to be looking more into that and possibly adding that part of my protocol and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having a show on it because I actually have a device where you can breathe it straight from the tank, but it's regulated. So you're not just breathing
Right.
100%
Yeah.
CO2, pass out.
Yeah.
But I think it's a max of like 8%. But it
Wow.
really shocked me how quickly I go into parasympathetic with it. So I think
Oh,
intuitively people would say like, oh, it's like it would amp you up. No, it's like calms me down so much. It's It's incredible.
Wow. No, that's amazing because we're working with a new type of EKG diagnostic technology, and it has algorithms built in using heart rate variability. And the research scientists that created these algorithms created it super accurately. But what I'm getting at is we can measure different parameters of the autonomic nervous system. And almost every single person has a way overactive sympathetic nervous system. And so when you're talking about activating the parasympathetic and, things like what the vagus nerve can do, that balances out the autonomic nervous system. So that's just awesome. Like I'm really, really intrigued to learn more about that.
And you talked about breathing ozone. So wanted to branch off a little bit on other
Hmm.
topics here for a bit. And through olive oil, I'm curious, and you mentioned mold. Have you at your clinic used ozone rectal insufflations for people, like a protocol? I think my friend Charles recommends like 2 weeks or something like that, 2 to 3 weeks, and building up those ozonides in your system. And
Hmm.
then and it might have been based off like Frank Schallenberger's work, but kind of like an on-off kind of pulsing protocol with that for people that experience mold or.
Yeah, with if we do see a black mold, which is I don't want to say common down here in Costa Rica, but because of the humid environment, you will have some areas with mold and people get it and they're like, I just feel off for the past 2 years, and we run a scan and we're like, yeah, you show signs of mold. Um, so depending on the severity in the person's situation, we would either do the ozone through the ears, like you talked about, or if you bubble it through extra virgin olive oil and breathe it right into the lungs, where a lot of times the mold spores would have entered in through, right? The nasal passage into the lungs. And so when we breathe in the ozone through the ozonites, or I'm sorry, through the extra virgin olive oil, it takes out the harmful stuff. It keeps the good stuff. And then it really starts to disinfect and kill that mold in a quick process. Um, so, and then, you know, it just depends on what type of toxic loads are going through. If we're going to do the ears and the breathing and or like an enema. And before we do the enema, we'll do the enema first and then the ozone. So we clean the colon first, then we'll do the ozone. That's kind of a standard protocol, just for wellness. In mold, we probably would be doing more on ears and breathing.
Okay. What kind of other treatments do you use at your clinic?
So the medical grade ozone with the tanks, the Axiom molecular hydrogen, we used enemas, like I think it's like 3 liter bags, 4 liter bags, like pretty big enema bags. Um, and then we'll also do prebiotics, probiotics that we make, and then we'll use PEMF mat. We'll also use Rife therapy, different Rife frequencies. Most time we're doing either immune system support or emotional clearing, and we use red light. We have one red light just for the top of the cranium, and then we have a full bed that's on both sides of the body that you like close the lid. Um, we'll also do magnetism therapy, right? Different magnets, really strong magnets, different parts of the body to help balance the pH. We use vortex energy medicine, which was the patented technology from a Russian scientist. He was the late Russian scientist. He won the Nobel Prize for this. And then within like 8 months after he won the Nobel Prize, I believe 2021, he was gone. Yeah. And so that's using Tesla technology, uses Tesla coils, and it has only two frequencies. And basically, it's a pad that you would put at different lymph nodes or your stomach or parts of your body, and it just runs an energy, and it's vortex, so it spirals, and that alone has been pretty awesome. And they have protocols to treat and heal disease, but we'll do what we call biohack stacking. So we'll actually breathe the hydrogen while you're laying on PMF mat, red light here, rife copper rods in your hand, and then the vortex energy on your gut. And so that's like one of the stacks. That's one of the treatment rooms.
Just blast off.
Yeah, oh yeah. Total blast off. And people are like, what just happened to me? Like, well, we just rejuvenated you by like 10 years.
It's incredible, all these therapies, and I think we can go into detail on like the quality of all the technologies and devices and things. But I think, I mean, I just think even like 10 years ago, the devices I started with, they definitely made a difference. And
Hmm.
a lot of these technologies people have no idea exist. I mean, I used to work in the cannabis industry down in Southern California, and people were just using Rick Simpson oil as like their
Right.
primary therapy for cancer. It's like, if you guys only
Yeah.
knew, you can combine it with those things you just mentioned and probably
Yeah.
heal 100 times faster.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I say with people that use hydrogen as standalone. And look, I'm the hydrogen warrior. I love hydrogen. I'm all about it. But, why use that as a standalone when it's so safely stacked with other things that we could just get faster results? And, um, I mean, there's no point that you shouldn't do it while you're doing red light or anything else. And like I've been wearing this watch I have on my wrist this whole time, and that's
Oh yeah, I
you
have
can
that
it
one
has all
too. Yeah.
the oh awesome. Yeah, all the anodes and everything. So again, if I'm sitting here doing a therapy, why not increase my circulation and cleanse the blood while I'm doing the hydrogen? It just stacks really safely.
That's awesome. Um, let's see, where else can we take the interview? Because you talked about so many different things. The biomagnetism, I wanted to ask, is that just placing strong magnets on on the body? Is that
Yeah, it's I have a book and I bought the kit in the book and it was really, really, really fascinating. Just the power of magnets to increase the rate of recovery for even broken bones. There's clinical studies showing that it increases the rate of like a broken arm by like 2 to 3 fold by keeping really strong magnets on there. And then when pH gets out of whack in different parts of our body and different organs, they'll put the magnets there to do that. So I was never working as a practitioner for it. We did have a woman that did it. She does biomagnetism for the past 30 years. And so she does a muscle testing to figure out where we need them. And then she'll put them, where they should be going. Um, but we also use a bioanalysis technology, which gives us the exact same as the muscle testing. So the muscle testing sometimes took like 30, 40 minutes just to finish that, then to place the magnets. Now we do the bioanalysis first. We say, okay, here's all the issues. Boom, put the magnets right on it. So it happens a lot faster there. Um, but for myself, I actually had some, and for men, you'd put and I forget because it's been a few years, but I think it was north side facing against like my sternum right here, and you tape it down, and that just kind of energizes this meridian that gives you a little bit more energy. And so there's different points that you could put these magnets and you would tape them on your body and wear them all day. Cool stuff.
yeah, magnets are fascinating. I slept on the Magnetico for years. It was like a
Oh,
20
cool.
Gauss, super
Yeah.
heavy, and I think that pushed metals around significantly. And so now I'm doing like a zeolite protocol. Another guy that
Yes.
Matt introduced me to, Jeff's zeolite, and feel
Me
awesome
too.
on that. Nice.
I
So
got a Zeo charge.
Zero Charge, yeah. And I was actually, my friend Brian Hoyer was here yesterday and smoking a cigar with me, and we were going through my supplement cabinet, which is just nuts. And I was giving him a
Yeah.
goodie bag, of a ton of stuff, and he was talking about Klinghardt, and because he trained under Klinghardt, and
Mm.
I guess Klinghardt talked about the different chlorellas. Was it
Yeah.
Pyrandosa and Vulgaris? And I think they're the two. And when I was
Hmm.
vegan, I was just popping these like candy willy nilly and just not really following any protocol. But I guess one's like a better chelator and one's a binder. So you have to
Hmm.
take them specifically, and kind of like the zeolite, you kind of have to megadose,
Right.
apparently, which I was not
Yeah.
doing. So I'm thinking back, I'm like, I was probably just pushing metals all over the place in my body the last 10 years.
Yeah. Hey, we live and we learn, but I'm same way, man. Same deal with you. And I'm taking the Zeo charge, zeolites, and it resonates. It just intuitively, instinctually, it resonates for sure. And I do think it is. And I got a heavy metal test. done through like a photon skin test with a special camera, and the company that works with Zeocharge.
Oh,
And
yeah,
the
the
guy said,
oligo
"Well,
scan. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah," and I was a big fan of that. I want to actually integrate that in some of our clinics. Um, but he said, first off, you have a great score. He said it actually looks really, really good, but you have a little bit high on aluminum. And I'm like, man, I don't use any aluminum, but I eat out from time to time when I'm traveling. So I'm sure the aluminum gets in there or through even some supplements that I'm unaware about. Like, who knows? Just spraying it in the sky is like, who knows? But I think Zeolite is now one of my daily standard. And now I used to take like you a cabinet. I had 80. I mean, it was like a whole GNC in my house. And now I'm down to I take my hydrogen tablet, I take the Zeo charge, and that's like my daily thing. For right now, that's the only two I'm taking. And on some of my other diagnostic scans I'm doing, my scores are 100 across the board. And so whatever I'm doing
Awesome.
is working. So I am gonna give props to Zeo Charge because I do feel like it is helping. It's a super mineral complex alone, and it's taking out heavy metals. So I feel like it's a really safe, solid bet to use.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I have the oligo scan actually here. I have to just do it. And
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of like a BS like
Hmm.
biofeedback test or something. Like I didn't think it was
Uh-huh.
accurate, but he was saying no, it's actually what shining light through your hand, and it's pretty scientific. It's not using like energy or something.
Yeah. Yeah, which again, those bioscans and some of those things, I'm like, didn't believe in them. But we actually are using a bioanalysis device that we validated numerous times with blood labs in the hospitals here and laboratories here in Costa Rica. Um, my neighbor, he got a scan and he was the hardest, most, um, let's say a hard believer in all that. He's like, I just want to let you know.
Skeptic.
Yeah. He goes, do not believe in this at all. We said, look, just give it a run. Let's see. And he was skeptic. I mean, to the max, total skeptic. And we showed he had some tumors in his spleen or his liver. He's like, no way. He goes to the hospital. He got blood work. Nothing really showed. Then he got like some more deep, in-depth blood work with almost like a thing that they use for pregnant women. And then it all showed. And now he's like, he's telling everyone, he goes, no, go get this scan. It's legit. Like, how did that know? He doesn't still understand the science behind it. But we've seen it happen hundreds of times that it now we believe in the test. And it does matter the practitioner, it does matter the hardware and software. So I don't want to say every bioanalysis is the same. It's definitely not. There's some that are 40% accurate, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 95%. And it 100% matters on the practitioner how to cross-reference certain tests to say, hey, we got this and this, but you need to have the proper training to say, hey, this result shows this and this result shows this. That means something's not adding up. So that practitioner, whoever's trained in it, 100% matters. But I know the one we work with is legit, and we've saved people's lives before too. We found people
That's
that had
awesome.
cancer, they had no idea. Um,
Oh,
I a cool story, little off topic, but with the hydrogen tablets, we had a gentleman react with cold sweats. This is like, I mean, 1 in 100, right? So I don't want to scare anyone away from the tablets, but typically the better health you're in, the less you have any reaction from the tablets. Just like, hey, I feel good, right? My skin's glowing. I don't need my afternoon nap. Those are our typical feedback. But this gentleman, I saw him in the gym, said, hey, you've been taking tablets. How's it going? He goes, oh, it's okay. I'm like, well, what happened? Why aren't you taking the tablets? He said, well, he goes, I felt bad, because we're friends. And he felt embarrassed. He goes, well, I just felt bad, but I took a tablet before bed and I woke up. He goes, this hasn't happened in 10 years. He goes, I had cold sweats. I was shaking. I couldn't sleep. I felt nauseous, like all this stuff. He goes, so your tablets aren't for me. I said, brother, I'm telling you right now, If you reacted that strong, it doesn't mean you had a reaction to the tablet. It means that your body triggered a war. It released hydrogen, which supercharged your immune system. That created all of your T cells, your killer T cells started fighting a battle. You felt the war take place. And I said, I'm telling you right now, trust me. I'm telling you, you have some serious health issue. No, no, no. I go to the hospital. I've got my blood work the past 10 years. I eat good. I go to the gym. I'm just telling you, please go to our clinic, get our bioanalysis scan. And he's like, well, that's woo woo. Same deal. Very hard skeptic. He gets a scan, and the scan shows signs of heart cancer. Of course,
Wow.
he's not happy to hear that. He goes to the hospital. The hospital confirms, yeah, you have beginning stages of heart cancer. So I'm just saying, through one strong reaction of one tablet, we found out he had heart cancer. We validated it through bioanalysis, which he didn't believe. And then the hospitals confirmed it. So you know, I mean, it's just like really powerful next level stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I must
Yeah.
have been using the wrong ones because all the ones I've used, they when you retest, it would be different every time, even like minute to
Right.
minute.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the ones we're using, like we buy them, like our landed cost is like $10,000. Like our landed cost is 10 G's. And the guy, his name's Seth Back. He actually has been working with bioanalysis for over almost 12 years now. So, and I was really fascinated with some of the bioanalysis coming from Ukraine and Russia, like 10 years ago, and they were selling for $25,000. And it's just like, I wanted to create a whole business around it, but I never could try it. So I never went there. Then I met Seth years later, and he's like, yeah, I've been using this for 10 years. So I'm like, whoa. So you're kind of like the man when it comes to bioanalysis. He goes, yeah, I think so. I got it dialed in. We're getting accurate results. I'm like, okay. Well, I need some validation for me to get on board. And then as I started joining forces with that clinic and we started result after result after result after result, like we found people with, a tooth infection. We say, don't tell us anything wrong with you. Go on the scan. We go, and we can look at a 3D imaging and we can move the image around of different organs. And so we saw the teeth. We saw total stress, bottom, back, right, left side of the teeth. We said, you have either a crack and or an infection, bottom, down. Named the exact tooth. The woman, she's a nurse. So she was a skeptic nurse that didn't believe what we were doing. So we did a scan to show her that's real. And when we said that, she just goes, how did you know that? We're like, we can see. And then we go, but you're treating it with something. And Seth guessed one thing. She goes, no. And then he said, baking soda. She goes, how did you know that? We go, well, we can tell you have an infection, but it hasn't spread. And it shows that it's been persistent in your body for almost a year. She's like, oh my, she was like sold. She goes, I'm sold. And then she was our nurse working at the clinic.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So, I mean, and like I said, I'm not the guru behind bioanalysis, and I know there's different qualities and accuracy. And even if you have, let's say, a higher end device, but the wrong training, you can get inaccurate results. And so you could have a less expensive hardware and software, but a better training and learn how to filter through all the tests to get you more accurate results. So
Makes sense. Um,
yeah,
do you have time for a few questions
yeah,
from
let's
the
do it.
listeners? Cool,
Yeah.
cool. This is a good one. Are hydrogen bottle brands good? So I think they're referring to, at the health food store. I think the ones I remember were like in pouches where it's like hydrogen
Hmm.
water that's just on the shelf. Or I guess
Yeah.
there's a bunch of brands now that ship to your
Yes.
door. Your thoughts on
Right.
those?
Yeah. There was H Factor,
Yeah, that was the,
many.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was buying that one years ago. But when I was buying that one, I didn't have the knowledge or the testing equipment. Um, and so years after that, I reached out to them and I said, how are you guys doing that? And they wouldn't tell me a lot, but he did say, which didn't make any sense. But he said that we removed the oxygen from the water and just left the hydrogen. And I'm like, well, then it wouldn't be water, right? Because that's a liquid. So yes, I haven't been able to test those waters. I would highly recommend if anyone you're paying for that water, it is a high ticket item, right? Getting delivered to your door and things like that. I would highly recommend just um, investing in like about a $30 to $40 digital meter to
Mhm.
validate that. I would assume that any of these companies selling it in a can or the pouch would have hydrogen in the water. I would be mortified if it wasn't like they were actually selling that. Um, I know their shelf life has to do with the time of how long it can be in the bag. So you might want to look at, manufacturing date or bottling date as far as when you bought it and things of that nature. And then it's definitely worth just to get, like I said, 25 to $40 meter just to validate it because I haven't done the test yet. I'd be very
Probably,
curious to.
probably better just use the tablets, right? You know what water you're using, and
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, Tablets, yeah, could be even better.
kind of on the same vein a little bit. Are the hydrogen generating water bottles worth buying? It's like the ones that you like USB charge.
hmm So, okay, great topic. We can definitely divulge into this. I get it a lot. A lot of people say, Mateo, do you guys offer a bottle? What do you think about this bottle? My bottle just broke, all this stuff. I had a bottle 6, 7 years ago. It did break after a few months. Now I know they've gotten a lot better, but here's what I'll state. I'd say about 90% of the bottles on the market are using ionization, meaning that they're getting super high alkaline water, which we don't want to be drinking. But as a byproduct of making, right, 10 on the pH scale, you're getting good amount of hydrogen in the water. So do they produce hydrogen? Yes. There's different qualities, right? So you want to find out if they're using ionization or a different form. How are you guys getting the hydrogen in the water? So I definitely ask that company, hey, does this alter the pH of the water? But I have tested one recently that does not alter the pH of the water, that gave us good high amounts of hydrogen without altering the pH. So there's a few bottles out there that do make good hydrogen in the water without altering the pH, which is excellent. Again, um, certain saturation, the minimum therapeutic is zero point 0.5 parts per million per liter. So you got to figure out what's the size of the water bottle and what's the saturation levels. So I would ask size of the water bottle, what's your parts per million saturation levels? Does it alter the pH? I'd also ask warranty. I'd also ask what's the cycle time? Like how many times can that bottle, how many cycles can it run? Maybe it's 200 cycles. And if you're using a cycle 3 times, 4 times a day, it might not last you that long. So those are the questions to ask that no company is talking about. Um, we will. This is, I guess it's a good time to do a soft little pre-launch. For the next 3 months, first time ever, we'll be releasing a water bottle that is a new technology, one of a kind in the whole market that creates extreme. It uses a whole different form of creating hydrogen in the water that no other bottle does, and it also will filter the water, and it creates like close to 3 to 4 times higher saturation levels than any other bottle on the market. And this was originally designed for super super sick people in dialysis that couldn't drink much liquid. So we've already validated that hydrogen rich water does improve intracellular hydration, meaning you can get more hydrated at cellular level with hydrogen rich water than you will with regular water. And so for people in dialysis and really, really bad cancer, they can only drink a very little amount of water. So this technology was actually created for them because that little sip of water, they could actually get sufficient hydration just through a little bit. So that will be released within 3 months. But for the people that, don't want to wait till then from, our line, ask those questions from the other manufacturers. What's the cycle? How many times can I run it? Does it alter the pH? What's the saturation levels? And can you prove it? Do you mind sending me just a quick 30-second video on your phone of showing those saturation levels? That's a great thing to just, wean through the companies real quick.
That's awesome. Well, that's exciting about the bottle. That sounds like great to travel with because you can buy store-bought bottled water, pour it in that, and fuse it.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
yeah, any bottle through the tap, like even just tap water because it has a filter. So now you don't even have to have like amazing quality water. You can just use unfiltered water through the tap that'll filter it and create maximum hydration.
That's cool. Um, let's see. Someone asked, does the tablet infused water have to be taken on an empty stomach? So I think you said first thing in the morning is what you do.
So yes, it does seem, at least with my tablet, which is not a water dissolved tablet, it's an orally digested one.
Hmm.
We recommend doing it
Hmm.
on empty stomach for higher absorption. Same thing with the magnesium based water tablets. They do seem to have higher absorption on an empty stomach. So for those of you that prefer the magnesium water dissolved ones, I would do it before you have your meal, or it's okay. Hydrogen's okay with food, but for maximum absorption, it's better on an empty stomach.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that yours, you just take the actual tablet itself. You don't put it in a glass of water, right?
Yeah, like
Okay.
Emmy, puedes darme un botella de tabletas. Abrir. Yeah, I'll show you guys. And even Randy, the president of Molecular Hydrogen Institute, he was like, wow, Mateo, he's like, I've never seen these tablets. Like, this is something different. Like, you guys, you got something really special here. And we get just phenomenal feedback and results. Um, so, this is, what the bottle looks like. It's just really simple, no fancy marketing, no frills, no harmful binders. And then the tablets are actually individually wrapped H2.
Hmm.
And so it keeps them from oxidizing. And then so you just pop this and you just take it like that, open it up right in the mouth, and you swallow it with a little bit of water and goes down and it breaks up in your stomach, releasing high amounts of hydrogen directly into our own container. So when you put a tablet in a glass of water and it starts to bubble, I mean, you're seeing all it bubble up and infuse right out the top, right?
Mhm.
And you
Just
need to wait till
escaping.
it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's escaping. So you need to wait till it's done, till its very last is done to chug it down. But think about this bottled water, our stomach's like a cauldron. It's a contained environment. So anything that you put in the stomach and it starts to break down, it doesn't escape. It goes all into the stomach lining. That's why I don't use the magnesium water dissolved ones anymore. I just use these ones. And it was a blessing how um, team engineers and nutritionists and everything, we got to this point and we just got them validated through H2 analytics. And so they are, in my opinion, of course, it's a super biased opinion. I'm the founder and the owner of Axiom H2. But in my opinion, I have a pretty good reputation. These are hands down the best hydrogen tablets on the market. So this is my little travel saver, or you're in a rush. You don't have time to sit and breathe the machine. You didn't have time to use your water. Pop a tablet, jet lag, hangover, travel, just pop these tablets on the go. And we have phenomenal results, feedback from lupus, autism, erectile dysfunction, type 1, type 2 diabetes, just with these alone. These are phenomenal. So I encourage you guys, and you know what? We should give you guys a discount code.
Yeah.
Um, for any listeners, um, let's do, how about we do,
Blackburn.
Mito,
I
or
usually I
yeah,
make it
Blackburn.
usually Blackburn just so people usually remember that for all my codes.
Your
If
name, yeah.
that works,
Let's
that's
do
generous of you. Appreciate
Blackburn 10. Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
Blackburn 10.
cool.
Just something you guys could try it, and you'll probably be very happy.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And that won't react with food because I'm kind of traumatized because it was I think a year ago I took vitamin C
Mm,
capsules and then I drank the magnesium the tablet water right after and immediately that reaction I vomited. Yes,
yeah.
it was not a
Yeah,
fun reaction.
we haven't had that happen with these tablets. So I'll say that seems to be safe to take. Everyone's taking it with all their other vitamins and supplements. And within, I'd say normally even within 10 minutes of taking this, 10 to 15 minutes, you take your morning coffee and you'll be fine, everything like that.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'd imagine it has somewhat of a, is it an alkalizing effect at all or no? It's,
Actually, no.
wow.
Because again, these are not designed to be water dissolved, but we've done for testing purposes, in about 14 minutes, these will fully break down in water. And in that, we can look at, did it release any harmful metals?
Mhm.
Did it alter the pH? How did it do on the oxidation reduction potential? And it actually had about a 7.1 on the pH scale. So it was
Oh,
beautiful. It didn't really make it more alkaline or more acidic.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, yeah, I think all the other questions you asked, a couple of people asked about another brand, uh, fully hydrogen.
Fully hydrogen. Yeah.
Yeah. Your
Yeah. Very
thoughts?
familiar.
Yep.
I think it's a quality product. I think that they should just stick to the water instead of the inhalation because you're not really getting like through the oxygen in the air and our respiratory rate. That machine produces, I think, like 120 or 100 parts per million of flow rate. And then I think you can only run that flow rate for like an hour to maybe 3 hours. Not sure how long it actually runs, but I know it's very, very low. And even talking to Dr. Tyler LeBaron, founder of MHI, he said on our 600 ml machine, he said even that was kind of low. And I'm like, really? And like, because the 300 or 600, we get great results from, but he was breaking down the math with the respiratory and the oxygen in the atmosphere and da 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 da. He's like, it means we're getting really little bit of hydrogen. So the Holy Hydrogen machine, I think it makes great water. I haven't tested the pH if it's ionizing the water to a high level of pH. Um, and I actually had a guy say that he smells ozone when he does it, and that's not a good sign because that means that some of the metals are oxidizing and releasing ozone or chlorine are the most common ones. And so I never like to talk bad. I just want to talk facts. Like this is what I've heard. Never tested the machine yet personally, but this is what I've heard. And
Yeah.
I have
Well,
a lot of clients. They say, "Hey, I'm looking at your machine, this machine." I'm like, I'm not trying to sell anyone. I'll tell you the specs on mine, and may the best man win. I don't need to bash another company to get a sale. Our products are speak for themselves. So
I'm glad you brought up the flow rate because I have your 300 ml per minute machine, and then you have a 600. And from what you said, from what Tyler DeBaron said, it was interesting. So it is the
yeah,
minimum time to use those. Would you say the 300 ml per minute you want to use like minimum an hour or something to see a benefit? Or what are your thoughts on those different?
yeah. I mean, I would recommend like at least an hour on the 300 ml because I'm all about results. Like I don't want to give anyone anything or sell anyone anything. Hence why I've never sold a water bottle because I've never seen the hydrogen rich water bottles move the meter. Is it better than regular water? Most of the time, yes. Is it enough to hit therapeutic levels and move someone's health? They say, wow, this bottle is great. I haven't seen it yet, and I don't ever want to jeopardize my reputation or my brand's reputation or the reputation of hydrogen therapy in general. So I only offer what has been scientifically validated to have therapeutic effects. And so with the 600 ml, we would recommend at least a 30-minute session. And the 300 ml, we've had people do 30-minute sessions and they feel good and they get good results. But yeah, if you can, at least an hour. Again, you can't overdo it. So typically the more the better. But if for those of you that have the 300 ml looking at the home model, the more the better. Or if you are doing it for 30 minutes, definitely try to remember to take some conscious.
Hmm.
I mean, that alone will make a huge difference because we've done testing. Like we just got approved for the UFC gyms. They're going to start carrying the
Oh, cool.
Axiom H2 machine. And
Awesome.
we were doing diagnostics with the HRV unit to get a baseline. Then we'd only have 10 to 15 minutes on someone on the machine of the hydrogen before we could test them again. So we did all their memberships of the UFC gyms. We did their staff. We did the GM. We did the owner. We did everyone. And even in 15 minutes, we found that if you're actually taking some really good conscious breathing, conscious deep respirations, we'll have those good effects. So if you're using the machine for a short amount of time, try to remember to instead of shallow breathing, to take a couple of deep to really saturate your lungs to maximize that time on there.
That's awesome. And then you have the commercial unit, which is that 3 liters per minute. So it's like a
Yeah.
3x or more increase from.
Yeah, that's we use that in the cancer rehabilitation centers and or the pro athletes. And that one actually does 2,000 liters or 2 liters per minute, 2,000 milliliters per minute of H2. And you have the option of oxygen to mix in there for those people with low blood oxygen saturation that, or even some respiratory um, bronchitis, pneumonia, things like that. We found that, again, low blood oxygen saturation, we combine the oxygen with the H2. Once they hit 95 blood oxygen saturation, we take off the oxygen, keep them on just H2.
Awesome. And what would you say the minimum time for that one? Like 10 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, you could do 10, 15, and we'll have some really powerful effects there too. That it's being all validated through our different diagnostics.
Wow, that's exciting. Well,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, yeah, axiomh2.com and then is it Hydrogen Warrior on Instagram?
Yep. Hydrogen War on Instagram. We have a lot of testimonials, a lot of the events we do around the world, a lot of the clinics we work with. And then there's the Instagram Axiom H2 that you can see some more other studies and information there too.
That's awesome. Well, Mateo, this was a lot of fun, and it's my first
Yeah.
show I've done on hydrogen. Over
Awesome. Yeah.
150 shows or something. I can't believe this is the first one. So it's been a
Wow.
blast.
Well, I'll extend, I did the Blackburn 10. We'll just put that on, all the products on the website. So someone was on the fence about getting a machine, and you like what Axiom H2 is doing. Uh, a lot of our machines, the HW600 comes with a certification course, comes with level one. So we're all about education and transparency and validation. All of our machines are endorsed by doctors. We can set up a phone call, a consultation with one of our medical staff. Um, we're international. So you guys want to try a machine somewhere where you're at in the world, we can try to arrange that for you. We ship international, shipping's included. And then, yeah, any other questions, you can reach out to Matt or myself. And then, so Blackburn 10, I'm going to make the link when we hop off the podcast. So in case any of your viewers do want to utilize that, we'll put that on there for you guys.
That's really generous. Well, yeah, I appreciate you sharing the hydrogen wisdom, Mateo. And
Yeah.
yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show.
No, thank you, Matt. It was a pleasure. I love what you're doing. Big fan of your work and your knowledge and your products too. So I hope to do this again and, integrate some of what you're using and your knowledge with my community as well. So thank you. It was definitely an honor for having me here.
Well, appreciate that. Thanks so much, Mateo. Stick around as we close out the show.
Okay, sounds good.
I learned a lot from that chat with Mateo. I was shocked to learn that the molecular hydrogen tablets that you dissolve in water that I had been using for years contain heavy metals like lead. And I wonder the amount, but I've never seen these hydrogen companies saying don't drink the sediment at the bottom because people probably want to get their money's worth and probably shake it up. I always looked at that sediment at the bottom of the glass. And if you've been into hydrogen for years, you know what I'm talking about. Just intuitively, it didn't feel right consuming that sediment. I was also shocked to learn that only 5 minutes to infuse a liter of water with molecular hydrogen if you have a machine. That's pretty impressive. Being as busy as I am, juggling all sorts of things here by myself on the homestead, I've been relying heavily on his tablets, which I really feel. I've been taking them on an empty stomach, and I feel awesome after I take it. And I'd imagine once it starts heating up here in the summer, because even though I'm in the far north, it does get up into the 90s Fahrenheit up here. I'm sure taking those hydrogen tablets will feel even better in the heat. One of the big reasons why I wanted to record this show, besides Mateo being an awesome guest, is all of the alkaline water ionizer information that I see out there coming from multi-level marketing companies. I really do believe, like I told Mateo in the show, that regular affiliate marketing is a win-win, whereas multi-level marketing is a win-lose. So the person that's buying the product is paying a premium when you could just become a Mitolife affiliate. And we have an affiliate program, and you make money, the customer saves money. There's no monthly commitments, there's no upline, downline, any craziness like that. And everybody wins. I've been really outspoken for years against multi level marketing. Some people call it a pyramid scheme. There's just much better business models out there. And I've never found an MLM that has a good product that another company doesn't have for half the price that's identical. So, that said, being in the water filtration industry for years and studying that, I mean, I started with that back in 2010, trying different waters over the years: well water, spring water, distilled water, reverse osmosis water, alkaline water. I mean, I really tried it all, stuff that people have just been dabbling in the last couple of years. I was doing it in 2010. So I have a lot of experience with water and seeing a lot of the marketing that goes into this stuff. So whether it's with air filters, water filters, really any product, a supplement, I really encourage you to look for specifics that are very prominent on the website that you're looking at and aren't hidden, and you don't have to email them to get the info, that it's all right there. Like, for example, with water filters, they should tell you the part number, or at the very least, the type of filtration media that is in each cartridge, instead of calling it super duper ultra XYZ alkalizer or whatever it is. I feel like Mateo with Axiom H2 is transparent. He had the lab test done for his tablets and they're clean. His machines are really high quality. I've been using hydrogen inhalers for probably 6 or 7 years now. I've been really impressed with the quality of the Axiom unit from Mateo. A lot of the ones I've had just seemed really flimsy and cheaply built. His seems really sturdy, like it's going to last a long time. And I like that it's not just for inhalation. I've spent several thousands of dollars on a hydrogen inhaler, and there's no attachments for pumping hydrogen into goggles like he includes, or into your ears, or probably the coolest one, the little Airstone diffuser for infusing drinking water with hydrogen. So there's so many uses for his machine for different applications. The reason why I purchased his machine was to breathe molecular hydrogen while I'm here working in my office. And his entry level unit, his most affordable one, as he said near the end of the show, you have to use it for about an hour to get the benefit for that 300 milliliter machine. And then as you spend more to get more milliliter production, the required time to get the benefit goes down. I'm a huge fan of optimizing your office desk. I'm running out of room here on my desk, but I currently have a light from my friend Brian Hoyer over at Shielded Healing. I just set up this 150 watt, you could call a heat lamp, but he specially designed this lamp, and there's kind of more whitish light than orange in it. And then I have the old Chroma Sky Portal, which I don't think they sell anymore, but it's a giant blue disc for days like today where it was overcast for most of the day. And then I have the Gemba Red little reading light, which is kind of a small unit, but it's really bright if it's dark at night. So I have 3 different lights for different applications, different wavelengths, different times of day. And then the breathing situation, I've been playing around with breathing CO2 gas, which sounds dangerous, but then you see the benefits of bag breathing for decreasing anxiety and having a lot of benefits on our physiology in general. So I've been playing around with the device breathing pure CO2 while I work. And that's kind of a shorter duration, about 10 to 15 minutes, Whereas the molecular hydrogen inhalation, that's if I'm on the computer for several hours at a time or just have a heavy workload that day, then that's the perfect time to sit there with the hydrogen inhaler. There's a very popular biohacking inhalation device out there that involves breathing exclusion zone water. And I purchased one several years ago, probably 3 to 4 years ago now. And I never really experienced any profound effects from it. And the crazy part is the cost of that device is actually 3x, 3 times what Mateo's hydrogen machine is. And I definitely feel the hydrogen gas way more than inhaling the structured water, which was supposed to improve the folding of my proteins. I think the hydrogen gas is just a lot more tangible. There's a ton of research behind it. Highly recommend if you sit at an office desk for your job, get the lighting on point, invest in a few lighting devices, invest in some type of an inhalation device, whether it's CO2 or the molecular hydrogen. We might as well multitask and make this unnatural situation of sitting indoors looking at a screen a little bit healthier. So if you want to check out Mateo's products, the website is Axiom, AXIOMH2.com. And he has a bunch of great research up there. And then if you click on the store tab, you can see the different hydrogen units. And if you just want to start playing around with it, you can purchase the hydrogen tablets. And if you use the discount code Blackburn, I think he said Blackburn 10, but I asked him to change it to Blackburn. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you guys, for 10% off any of the products. But I've been really loving the hydrogen tablets. I'm averaging 3 a day on an empty stomach, like first thing in the morning with my dissolve-it-all systemic enzymes, and then midday, and then at night, usually before dinner. My website is matt-blackburn.com. You could check out the CLF protocol that I designed. It stands for calcification, lipofuscin, and fibrosis. And a little exciting announcement, I did my first interview in about 3 years with my friend Seema that I've known for years. And we just talked about what I'm into lately, what I'm eating, kind of my current lifestyle. I've had so many requests to do interviews the last year or two, especially, and I've turned them all down. So I will start the circuit. I much prefer to be asking the questions than to be answering questions, but I think I bring a unique perspective. So you guys will enjoy that show. That's going to be out in about a month on her podcast, and I'll post that on my social media channels when that's out. And then on that matt-blackburn.com site, click on shop. You can see all of my recommended products that I use, and most of them have discount codes. And then if you go to the Mitolife website, that's mitolife.co. Right now, we're having a surplus sale on several products. A lot of people have been asking about melatonin dosage, and because I'm not a doctor, I can't prescribe and recommend a specific dosage. I often just tell people what I'm taking, which is currently 200 milligrams a night. But a lot of people that have only taken 3 or 5 milligrams, jumping up to 50 or 100 could be really strong for their system. And I think melatonin has a lot of those counterintuitive things with it, where it's not necessarily a bad thing if you go from taking 5 milligrams straight to 200 milligrams. Everybody's different, so it really depends how your body reacts to it. And just keep in mind that mitochondrial is the ultimate mitochondrial enhancer. Melatonin increases mitochondrial physiology, so it improves the ability of your mitochondria in your cells to function. And if you have dysfunctional mitochondria, that might be why you feel bad if you don't take enough. So similar to the zeolite thing, I recently had a show on zeolite, and watch out for the underdose. The same applies for melatonin, where you might feel less groggy actually taking more than taking less. And this relates directly back to the health of your mitochondria. And mitochondrial dysfunction, don't feel bad if you have it. It's something to work on. It's very common. And I think melatonin is one of the best ways to improve our mitochondrial health. So, all that said, like I mentioned in the beginning, the surplus sale is going on. So, if you want to try the melatonin, the 5 milligrams is currently $10, and that's before discounts, which is kind of an insane price. I think that's the cheapest price you'll find melatonin on the internet, especially this clean, where the only excipient is bamboo silica. And the bottle and the lid are from the BioBottle company. So they're technically biodegradable, or they break down in a landfill. So that's another thing that differentiates my melatonin product from every other brand. So you might want to try the 5 milligram 60 count for $10. Maybe get a few of those and maybe take 4 of them at once. Maybe take 6 of them at once. Start with 20 or 30 milligrams and see how you do. Check out the Mitolife Academy. That's on YouTube. It's $15 a month. I just did a giveaway. Someone won a amp coil, $8,000 value. There was only 20 entries, so the chance of winning these things are very high, and I'm doing giveaways every few months, and people really enjoy the live Q&A the last day of every month, and then the 2 videos a month for subscribers where you can see my latest research and experiments. So that's all for today. I'll see you guys next Friday. Stay supercharged.